Welcome to the University of Southampton Archives and Special Collections podcast. In this episode of our series, My Day Was Not an Idle One, Lord Palmerston and the Broadlands Estate exhibition, we'll be introduced to the working life of Lord Palmerston via his study at Broadlands. The document discussed is an article from the Illustrated London News. To help us uncover the content of this document, Archivist Sarah will be speaking with fellow Archivist Lara, who selected this item for the exhibition. Let's join them now. Lara, thank you for joining us. Can you start by telling us a bit about this item and where it fits into the exhibition?
Of course. This inventory is displayed in Case 2, which focuses on the Assistant House at Broadlands. The article is titled Lord Palmerston's Study at Broadlands and was published in the Illustrated London News, which was the world's first illustrated weekly news magazine and ceased publication in 2003. This article was published on the 11th of November 1865, nearly a month after Lord Palmerston's death.
Oh, wow. Could you start by telling us a bit more about who Lord Palmerston was?
Sure. Lord Palmerston, his full name being Henry John Temple, 3rd Viscount Palmerston, remains the most recent Prime Minister to die in office. He was the longest-running Foreign Secretary of the 19th century and twice Prime Minister, running as Prime Minister until his death aged 80.
Oh, that's incredible. A very important British politician. No wonder he has a cat named after him at Downing Street. Can you tell us more about his connection to Broadlands and why the Illustrated London News focused their article on his study at Broadlands rather than at his home in Romsey or Downing Street?
Of course. As the article explains, despite his home being Fox Hills in Romsey and 10 Downing Street, much of Palmerston's affection Broadlands. After all, he was born at Broadlands and it was his childhood home. Broadlands was first purchased from Palmerston's great-grandfather Henry Temple, 1st Viscount Palmerston, from John St Barb's nephew in 1736. Palmerston inherited Broadlands in 1802 and made improvements to the house and workers' cottages.
Ah, that makes sense. What exactly does the article tell us about Lord Palmerston's study?
The article tells us that my Lord's study, as it was called by the servants at Broadlands, adjoined the spacious library in which was a large table covered printed reports, various pamphlets and newspapers and all the best atlases or collections of modern maps, with the latest corrected copies of which he took special care to be supplied. The illustration of the study in the article even shows an object that has a connection to the University of Southampton.
Oh, wow. Tell us more.
So the silver trowel, which Palmerston used in laying the foundation stone of the Hartley Institute at Southampton, with a presentation copy of its rules bound in Morocco and inscribed with his name, bears witness to his patronage of then local institutions. On the 15th of October 1862, the Hartley Institution, as the university was named then, was declared open by Lord Palmerston. He was chosen to open it because it was a major civic occasion that exceeded the expectation. Palmerston was cheered into the city by enthusiastic crowds. Reports of the Royal Southampton Infirmary, which lie on the same table, can also be seen. This was founded as a voluntary hospital in 1835.
Oh, thank you. That's incredible. So how often did Palmerston work in this study?
He often worked there in the seasons of his retirement, as well as being in the house at Easter, Whitsuntide in September, or at Christmas, parliamentary recess, or the ordinary holidays, where he could escape the town. In his study he passed many hours, entering his study immediately after breakfast, and staying perhaps until 3 or 4 o'clock, at which he would go off for his daily ride to cast off the burdens of the British Empire and the weight of the European balance of power.
Ah, that's fascinating. So is there anything else in the study apart from the desk and the objects on it?
Indeed, there is. The library shelves and other shelves in the billiard room close by were stored with the best English and foreign literature. Palmerston was esteemed as quite a purist in language, grammar and orthography, as evident in his punctilious style of many documents produced in the Foreign Office. For example, there is a story of his taking the trouble to consult Johnson's dictionary to justify an expression which somebody felt fault within the Queen Victoria's speech, and his protest against the phrase non-intervention when it was new, preferring to use non-interference instead. Palmerston also gave advice at the meeting of the Mechanics' Institution to a group of young men on the importance of having plain and legible handwriting. Let all your letters be perfectly formed and properly joined together in the words, and be sure to make your upstrokes quite distinct as well as your downstrokes.
It sounds like Lord Palmerston was very proficient in his work. Do you know what kind of documents he had to create in his political roles?
All these included volumes of official reports, dispatches and correspondence done by his sole while Secretary of War from 1809 to 1828, in which he also organised the finances of the army, much to the despair and wonder of all the clerks.
Lord Palmerston's hand must have been so sore from all that writing. He must have had a robust desk to do all this work on.
The high desk in his study at Broadlands, with its worn leather cover almost 5 feet from the floor, and the mat in front of it much trodden by his unwearied feet, act as evidence that even as an octogenarian he was accustomed to write standing, and his long sittings were only in the House of Commons. Whilst in the study, Palmerston would also often be seen using his inkstand, blotting book and worn and blackened pens.
Crikey! So, what facts about Lord Palmerston would you like our listeners to take away today in regards to his personality and his study?
In summary, Lord Palmerston served in government for 46 years, a record in the modern period. His Irish peerage allowed him to serve as Member of Parliament almost continuously from 1807 aged 22 to his death aged 80. As Foreign Secretary, he loved wielding power through blunt, imperious dispatches written at high speed with bold instructions to British diplomats all round the world. Palmerston was Prime Minister for most of the last 10 years of his life. He brought the Crimean War to a generally successful conclusion and survived the embarrassment of the Indian Mutiny in 1857. The name of this revolt is contested, and it is variably described as the Sepoy Mutiny, the Indian Mutiny, the Great Rebellion, the Revolt of 1857, the Indian Insurrection, and the First War of Independence. He also approved the creation of the independent Kingdom of Italy and supported a policy of neutrality in the American Civil War.
Thank you, Lara and Sarah, for shedding light on this fascinating piece of history. And thank you to our listeners for joining us on this journey through the Broadlands Estate archives. Stay tuned for future episodes on the My Day Was Not an Idle One exhibition, where we will continue to explore the hidden stories behind the treasures in our archives and special collections.